The phrase game changer is often way overused, but in this situation, I'm going to say if you're a WordPress user, Elementor adding pop-ups to Elementor Pro is a game changer, and I'm going to try to explain why that is. Now, yesterday I released a video talking about the new Elementor beta that just came out and some of the features, and I said pop-ups are coming, and I read through the comments and a lot of people were not that excited about pop-ups, and it's justifiable. I mean, pop-ups, the way that most websites implement them, are some of the most annoying things on planet Earth. I will tell you though, when you factor in Elementor and what you can now do in a pop-up, you're going to change the way you think of pop-ups completely. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. And I'm going to show you this new feature that is out in beta and should be released, my guess is in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Well, let's get that out of the way. Hi, my name is Adam from WPCrafter.com, where I make WordPress tutorial videos for non-techies. If you're new here, consider clicking on the subscribe button. And if you don't want to miss these important video updates, click on that notification bell. Hey, let's just jump on into this one. Okay, so here's the little announcement. And then, of course, we're going to get into it. It is basically letting you know that you can download this beta right now if you have Elementor Pro, and you could start using it. And they even included it in their email newsletter that went out today. And it's pop-ups where you can use Elementor, obviously, to create the pop-up. And there's rules and triggers and things like that. This is nothing new. We have lots of pop-up builders already for WordPress users. Okay, we've got conditions and triggers, advanced rules, and stuff like that. So, and here you can actually read a comment that I left about a feature that I think needs to be added for this to really be what everyone wants it to be. Okay, what is the hoopla over? And why is this a big deal in my mind? Okay, so here's the deal. You've got other pop-up plugins for WordPress. You have also pop-up software as a services where they're like 30 bucks or 40 bucks. Some are like 60 bucks per month. And the software as a services, they meet a great need, right? And that is if you have a Shopify store or something like that. So I'm only speaking to WordPress users if you want pop-ups on a WordPress website. When you factor in what Elementor gives you access to, and now you can take that and feed it into a pop-up, you really can start thinking of more things that you can actually do with the pop-up. So when we're talking pop-ups, we're not just talking the basic pop-up that pops up in the middle of the screen. We're talking hello bars, the bar underneath it. You see that a lot with cookie consent. We're talking all the different placement options. So you can have whatever pops up be on the top, could be in the middle, could be at the bottom, it could be in the left, could be in the center, can be on the right. You have total positioning over it, and you also have mobile responsive options. But stop for a second and realize what Elementor Pro allows you to do. You have a library of elements that you can use now in pop-ups, such as a countdown timer or an Evergreen countdown timer. There's a service called Deadline Funnels that allows you to do now what you're going to be able to do with Elementor Pro alone. That service alone is about, I think it's like 40 bucks a month, maybe 50 bucks a month. I think they even have a $100 a month plan. And all it does is create Evergreen countdown timers based upon cookies, and then it protects the content that, or maybe a sales page or something like that, when the counter reaches 0. You can now do that using Elementor. That's one example. We've got website personalization services where now you're going to be able to do a lot of that website personalization right in Elementor. You have cookie consent plugins for GDPR related stuff. You can now do that with Elementor. We have the, what is it? the access gate. If someone's under 18 years old that they want to get into the website for tobacco or adult related websites, well, you can accomplish that. I think also marijuana, which is being legalized everywhere in the United States. You can also have that age consent. That's it, age consent now on your website. You can also have a login form. So if you want to have a menu item where someone clicks on it, and instead of taking them to a login page, you want a beautifully gorgeous designed login form that comes up, you're going to be able to do that now. But when you factor in the dynamic data, that sets the Elementor-based solution way above any other solution out there. So for example, with Elementor, you can pull in a name, the first name of the user that's logged into the account. So you can now greet them by there's just so many things. Let me just show you what it is before I dig deeper into it. We got WooCommerce data we can pull into pop-ups. We got all kinds of stuff you can now pull into a pop-up that you just can't do with any of these other plugins. You just can't do it with any of these other services because they don't have access to your WordPress-based website. Okay. You're saying just get to it. I understand. Okay, yesterday I showed you under templates, there's a new option that says pop-ups. You will have this available if you are using Elementor version 2.4. And if you have the Pro version, you can actually create a pop-up. If you're using the free version, it will just be a solicitation to purchase the Pro version. And if you don't, visit WPCrafter.com/Elementor. To go ahead and get that, and the link will be down below. I'll click on add new pop-up. This should all be familiar if you've been using Elementor Pro already. And here's the different types of content you can create, but we're creating a pop-up. Obviously, we're going to leave it on this, and I'll give it a name. I named it Facebook ebook offer. That kind of rhymes, and I did that for a reason that I'll show you later. So I'm going to click on create template. Now, what Elementor Pro has, and they did a pretty nice job, is they have some templates in there that we're going to get to be able to choose from in a moment. And like I said, this is the Pro only. That's why you see these Pro badges. And this is going to give you an idea of what you can do now with this feature on your website. So right here, the first thing that we're seeing is a really nice looking login form. Now these could be triggered by clicking on a button, a menu item, a piece of content, automatically triggered when someone, there's all these trigger options we're going to go over. But because Elementor has a login widget, you're able to use that login widget in a pop-up. Here's another login form right there. I like that actually because it could just kind of slide down from the top right corner. We have something here for WooCommerce, which is there's a sale, and you can click here and literally have the product added to the cart and take them to the cart. You can't do this with these other tools. You just can't do it. Okay, we have, this looks like a cookie consent or something, kind of a consent bar at the bottom. Here's a sale, which is kind of known as like a hello bar. You can do that as well. Here's another sale notification. Here's a email opt-in. Here's a sale notification with a countdown timer, which, like I said, you can use Evergreen countdown timers. Here's another sale. Here's probably another cookie consent, an opt-in form. Here's that age gate right here where it says, are you under 18 right there. And then we have an opt-in form. We have another opt-in form. And then we have a full page opt-in form where there's 2 buttons that can take you to do different things. Now, you might be asking yourself, you might not be, can you do a 2-step opt-in with this? You absolutely can. You would link 2 different pop-ups together to do a 2-step, and I'll show you how you could take anywhere in Elementor where there's a setting to put in a link. You can, instead of a link, you can link it to any pop-up, and that's how you would do it. So you would have a pop-up with a yes and a no, and for the yes, you could link that to a different pop-up that could maybe ask for an email address, and then for a no, you can just have it go into the content. Okay, I haven't tested this one, but let's just go for it. I'll go ahead and click on that fitness one down below. I've been going to a gym lately. Oh, wow, look at that animation. That is quite nice. Okay, so this is Elementor, folks. You can do all the elementary stuff that you're used to. Let's go through this just a little bit. So right here, you could just click and start editing away. This is just the normal form and all of that. But let's first look at the pop-up settings. So when you click on the little settings wheel on the bottom left, you're going to get your pop-up settings that gives you mobile control, responsive controls for many of these options as well. But we've got our width. So if I wanted to make this wider or more narrow, I have the option to do that just like that. We have height options as well, positioning. So here's where you could choose whether you want this to be at the top, the bottom, the left, the right, the center. So here's your positioning. You have this total control, so think about it. So if you wanted to have something where, say, someone visits one of your blog posts, they scroll down to the bottom of it, and maybe on the bottom right, you might want something sliding up, recommending another piece of content or recommending something, but it's kind of on the bottom right, it's out of the way, it slides up. You can do that with this. You've got the positioning right here. You have the option of having an overlay. That's what happens in the background. So if you didn't want an overlay, you just wanted the pop-up, you could do that. And the overlay can be an image, it could be a video, it could be a solid color, it can be a gradient, it could totally cover all the content, it could be whatever you want it to be. And we'll get to those overlay settings when we go to the Style tab. Next, you can choose if you want the close button or not. So if you didn't want that, and that's going to be useful to force someone to choose one of the options, for example, an age gate, you want someone to be able to choose yes or no. So that is your close button option right there. And then right here, actually, I didn't see this show button after, so that's interesting. You can maybe have it not show that close button. Let's actually test that. I'll put a 5 in there, not show. Oh, wow, and it did. It went away. The close button totally went away. Actually, here, let me get out of this. So the close button was right here, and it went away because I put in the option to have it disappear. So there it is. Close button and no close button. So let's leave it on and have it disappear after 5 seconds. And let's bring me back in. Okay, entrance animation. You can choose how you want the pop-up to appear. And these my best advice is don't use some of these wacky settings here. You don't want to annoy people. So like things like wobbling and jello and stuff like that. Like, that's annoying to me, and I'm sure it's annoying to a lot of people. It doesn't impress anyone, or the wobble. Actually, the wobble's kind of cool. So just be very careful. You might just want to do fade ins and slide ins and stuff like that. I tend to be a little bit more conservative. And then you have control over the duration of the animation, which is a very nice setting to have. We've got some general settings here, which is basically just your name and the status. Preview settings. Okay, so for the style, we have our background, we have our borders. These are settings that you're used to. We have the ability to have a drop shadow if you wanted. Here's that overlay. So this is the dark color there, but if I just wanted it to be a solid color, and this is all someone sees when the pop-up happens, that's how you would do it. And you can choose the opacity that you want. This is all real standard Elementor stuff. And then you have some design control over the close button. So here is that close button. You can have it inside or outside. So outside, it moved it to the top right. Inside, it's actually inside of the pop-up. And you have control over the size and all of that with that close button. Then we have some advanced options right here. So you can choose to prevent the closing. So you can make it so if someone clicks on the overlay, the pop-up doesn't go away. I would actually encourage you to enable that because someone can see a pop-up, accidentally click on the overlay area, it goes away, but they really cared about the information. So just be careful with that. You have automatically close. That's interesting. Disable page scrolling. So if this appeared on a long page, your visitor won't be able to scroll and lose their position. I think that's pretty good as well. And also some control over avoiding multiple pop-ups so you don't have some pop-up collision. And I think that it's going to be very easy to end up having a little bit of pop-up collision. And then you have some other standard stuff. Okay, so now let's get into the real exciting things. So when you click on publish for the first time, you're going to get this pop-up right here. Now, what this is going to allow you to do is determine the conditions of when this will pop up, triggers, and some amazing advanced rules. And this is where you unlock the power. So for conditions, this is basically where do you want it on the entire site, your archives, if you have custom post types, where do you want this to trigger? So I'm just going to, for this video, choose entire site. Now you can also exclude locations. So if you wanted to have it be on the entire site, but then exclude certain portions, it might be easier to do it that way. And then we can click next, and it basically just takes us to triggers. I could have clicked on triggers right here. That would have worked as well. Okay, so for here, these are our triggers. So we have on page load, and when you toggle any of these, you might have additional options available. So on page load, you can have it appear after a certain period of time in seconds. On scroll, and this is the based on direction and how far they scroll down. This is scroll to an element. This is actually pretty cool. So you can create a class. This is a little more advanced. Add this to maybe a section or an element on your page. And then when someone scrolls down to that, the pop-up would appear. So that would give you some really fine-grained control. On click right here. So this is actually just clicking anywhere on the content or where this is set to appear. And you can set the amount of clicks. That's kind of interesting. Okay, after inactivity, so this is after a certain period of time, and then you have exit intent. This is when the mouse cursor leaves the viewport and goes to maybe change the URL or click the back button. Then you can have it pop up. Okay, let's get into here. Let me just set this to on page load. All right, I'm going to do a next. And here's where it gets really powerful. Okay, we have advanced rules. So you can show after a visitor has visited a certain quantity of pages on your site. So if you wanted it to be maybe they visited 3 pages, that shows that they're interested. They've stuck around long enough to visit a few pages. So maybe they are less likely to be annoyed by a pop-up. That's what this setting's for. And this is the amount of sessions. So this is if someone comes to your website, leaves, and then at a later time comes back to your website, that would be their second session. And then you can have the pop-up show then. And then we can control how often the pop-up will actually show for a visitor. And here's really interesting. When arriving from a specific URL, and you could show, hide, or get a regex. Regex is creating a rule. So if you just wanted a rule that was Facebook only. So if someone comes from Facebook, you want a specific Facebook pop-up or something, or maybe Reddit or Twitter or something like that. You could accomplish that easily with a regex. Or if you are, say, doing a promotion or you're getting traffic from another website that there's some kind of an arrangement and you want to welcome those people when they come to your website, click through and come to your website, you can easily do that now with a targeted pop-up. Hey, thank you for coming from the Elementor website. So, for example, I did a podcast interview on the Elementor website not that long ago, and there's a link on the Elementor website to my website. Well, I could welcome anyone specifically with a pop-up. They say, welcome Elementor users, etc., etc. So there's all of these things that you could do and have some really fine-grained control right here when arriving from a specific URL. And you can also exclude from there. And you can have more broad rules, and these are them right now. So if traffic comes from a search engine, you could show it just for that. So it'll know if it's a search engine, an internal link, or an external link. So you could just say all external links when they come in to apply these rules, or only internal links. Okay, so that is there. This is really good, and I wish this was in more of the regular Elementor sections, and that is hiding for logged in users. So what's this going to be great for? A login form. Or why would you ask a logged in user for their email address for something? They're already logged in. The assumption would be that you already have their email address. So you're going to be able to have those intelligent rules right there. And then you have device rules. So you could show this on only certain devices if you wanted. So if you didn't want pop-ups ever on a mobile device, you've got that control. Okay, let me turn these off. Let me do a save and close. And then if you wanted to get back into those rules, you have the arrow right here and you can jump straight on into those rules. Okay, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to click on exit the dashboard. I got something else I'm going to show you. All right. And here it is. So now when I click on pop-ups, you'll see a list of your pop-ups. And you have the kind of just like a snapshot of where that pop-up's running, so you can easily jump on into it. And this is interesting right here. It has the short code. Now, this is something that is available already when you're looking at anything else that you've saved if you have Elementor Pro. However, I tried embedding this. I took this short code and I tried putting it in a piece of content, and it didn't show the pop-up in the content. And that is that feature request that I have actually listed out down here. I would like the ability to create a pop-up but embed it in a sidebar, not as a pop-up, because I want to be able to leverage those advanced rules on it. That is going to make me excited. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. So I'm popping on over. Hopefully I got my rules right. Oh, and there it is. It just slid on in there. And you can see different sections of your pop-up or elements of your pop-up can have different animation rules. So the overall pop-up faded in, and then the column right here that has the actual opt-in form, this right here it had a different animation rule. Okay, so let's go ahead and get back on into there. Let me show you where the power is. And the power, quite simply, is with the Elementor modules and the dynamic content. So let me show you something new. Okay, I'm going to go to, actually, that was fine. So we have dynamic content, but they added a new feature, and I think it might have been for the pop-ups, and they listed it right here, and that is the ability to pull in user information. Add user information. So if someone is logged into your account, so if you have, say, a website that's you're a course creator and you have people logging into your website for accessing their course, you can now dynamically pull in their name all across your website or also in pop-ups. So let me show you how that works. I'm in here, I click on dynamic, and right here is the option for, where are you? It's up here. Actually, it's down here under site, it's user info. You click on that, and then you click on it again, and now I can pull in user information. So if I wanted to, say, pull in their first name, which we have that there, and then it pulls in the name. So this is website personalization, guys. You can now do this with Elementor. So for before, this would be content that would appear before the name. I'll put the word hey in space. So now it'll say, hey, Adam. And then you can have some information after. Now, if I don't have someone's name, if they're this dynamic, there's no value, I don't have their first name, or they're not logged in, I can have a fallback. So I just entered the word friend. So if someone visits this pop-up and they're logged in, it will show their first name, hey, first name. And if I don't have their first name or they're not logged in, it will just refer to them as friend. This is website personalization, and I want to use this all over my website. So now if I was to, okay, so let's save this and let's back out. Actually, here, let's do a preview. So now it should say, hey, Adam. There it is. How cool is that to have this website personalization? But it goes beyond that if you're using Elementor Pro, because if you looked at their blog post last month and a feature that was released, you can slip in someone's name in the URL. So you can pull in URL parameters, information from the URL to dynamically populate things like this. This is some really amazing stuff. Another thing, we have countdown timers. Okay, so Elementor added in December 2018 countdown timers that are evergreen, and they will secure content as well. So if I go up here to countdown, I can drop in a little countdown timer, probably right there. and we have Evergreen options. So instead of due date here in the top left, I can change this to Evergreen, and as this will trigger on a per user basis. This is amazing stuff when you factor in that you can now pull in data from your website to dynamically populate pop-ups. This is a game changer for me, for my purposes, for how I use my website. I want a dynamic website. I want a personal experience that I can deliver to my website visitors. And I can do that more now with dynamic content, being able to pull in the user's name, and with these pop-ups, login forms, age verification gate. It's pretty interesting what you can do now using Elementor. You can basically replace a lot of services that you can't even access this data and allow you to leverage it. If you're a WooCommerce shop owner, this is amazing stuff. You can have a button that is linked to a product that takes them straight to the checkout. You can do some cool things. Okay. One thing I forgot to show you was how do you trigger a pop-up in your regular content. It's so easy. So I just have this pulled up, so I'm going to do it here. So I'm going to pull in a button really quick. This isn't like the real design. So you can put your button in anywhere, and where it says link, there's a dynamic option. You click on that, and then there's going to be an option right here that says pop-up under actions. So when you click on pop-up, then you click it again, and it's going to choose to open or close a pop-up. So this is if you wanted to create a pop-up that was going to be multi-step, you just put a button or a link, and you can link it to the next step. Or if you wanted to put a pop-up that's triggered anywhere on your website, on any piece of content that you created, and this works for more than buttons. This is anywhere in Elementor where you have this link option. You're now going to also have the option of triggering a pop-up as well. So contact forms, if you wanted a button in the header that says contact us, you don't have to take it to a contact form. You could just have a pop-up happen with a contact form right there. So this video is obviously already longer than I wanted it to be. If you don't have Elementor, visit WPCrafter.com/Elementor. It'll take you to information about a training program I have called Elementor Accelerator. I give that away to people when they purchase Elementor Pro. All the information's on that page. Now, I want to hear what you think about this, the services you think it could replace, and the creative ideas of how this can be leveraged to do amazing things on our website. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe. Click on that notification bell if you don't want to miss a thing. That's all that I have for you in this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.